Welcome to the Wholesome Life. Today we're going to be talking about your gut and your brain and why gut balance matters. I don't know how much you already know about your gut health, but gut health is one of the most important things we can do. What's your gut got to do with your brain? Well, your gut has millions of neural connections. It's a second brain. And when you hear the words gut feeling or I just knew it in my gut, those are accurate ways to express one of the most important functions of our gut. The neural connections in our gut are responsible for relaying information to the frontal lobe of the brain and the amygdala, or the part of the brain that handles emotion. Our gut instincts are largely responsible for warning us of danger and helping us know when it's not safe. That's important to understand because, as you will see, trauma is one of the major reasons for poor gut health to start. The vagus nerve is the direct connection from the gut to the brain and back. It's a two-way communication system between your digestive system and your brain. The vagus nerve works in both stressed and unstressed situations. It carries information from our gut directly to the brain, which then communicates to the rest of our body. For example, if you were in a suddenly dangerous situation, the amygdala would get the message from the gut that it needs to respond, and messages would be very quickly sent out to cause the adrenal glands to release adrenaline so that you can fight or run or freeze as the situation requires. Or in a situation that's not stressful, the brain would get the message that it's okay to relax or rest and digest, and appropriate messages would get sent to the rest of the body. As you can see, the vagus nerve takes information from many, many parts of our body to the brain. Why would trauma cause problems in the gut? Trauma is a chronic stress. When trauma doesn't stop, such as abusive situations or situations where you're under constant threat, the vagal tone becomes decreased because the brain is constantly receiving stress messages. After a while, it simply cannot continue to respond properly. The gut then is affected by lack of support from the brain. Trauma also creates energetic blocks in the vagus nerve, which is why trauma has such an impact on our gut health and why trauma affects so many systems of the body and has been related to chronic health conditions. If the vagus nerve is damaged or not working properly or blocked, you can see how many different organs are affected. The first thing that we can do when the damage has been done by trauma or other situations to the vagus nerve is to clear the energetic blocks that are caused by that trauma. It's one of the most critical pieces to restoring health. We can't begin to restore our gut or our other systems until the energy is flowing clear and strong, which keeps our vagal nerve toned. There are lots of ways to tone the vagus nerve after clearing. Meditation is a well-known way to help with this. Another way to tone the vagal nerve is music, particularly singing and humming. Those vibrations are very helpful to our vagal nerve tone. Deep breathing helps tone the vagus nerve. So any kind of specially designed breathing exercise, which allows us to breathe slowly and deeply, helps tone the vagal nerve. Laughter is another excellent way to tone the vagal nerve. Laughing deeply and well, good belly laughs. Truly, laughter is the best medicine. Yoga is also an excellent exercise for toning the vagal nerve, particularly a pose known as the cat-cow pose, which consists of being on our hands and knees and arching and then bowing our back inward. You can look that up and find out how to do that, which will help tone your vagal nerve if that's what's needed. So once you've cleared the energy blocks from your vagal nerve and you've been toning your vagal nerve, what can you do to heal your gut? Your gut is responsible for so many functions and the health of so many parts of the brain and the body that we're just beginning to understand it. Your gut has millions upon millions of microbiota or friendly bacteria that do many jobs. You have somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 pounds of these little germs in your gut. And although there's some of them in almost every system of our body, we are just learning that the gut is the major location of all these bacteria and how important they really are. These little germs, for example, create over 90% of the serotonin in our body. Serotonin is the brain hormone responsible for mood. So having that dysregulated or not working properly creates mood disorders such as depression, bipolar, and others. Those little gut bacteria also create over 60% of the dopamine in our body and brain. Dopamine is the brain hormone that regulates anxiety. If our gut is out of balance, anxiety can be created because we aren't getting the proper amounts and kind of dopamine. The two biggest reasons that people seek out mental health care are depression and anxiety. So by getting our gut in balance, we could actually put the mental health industry out of business. Not good for me maybe, but it would definitely make a very large impact if everyone's gut health was improved. These little guys being out of balance in our gut have also been linked in research lately to other more severe brain disorders, such as autism and schizophrenia. Having not enough diversity in the gut bacteria is also known to be responsible for many, many kinds of illness, largely because the overwhelming majority of our immune system is found in our gut. These little guys do a lot to protect us. What are some of the things that damage our gut bacteria or throw it out of balance? We've mentioned a few of them already, but one of the most significant disturbers of gut balance are antibiotics. They kill bacteria indiscriminately. It's a little bit like dropping an atomic bomb when all we really need is to arrest one criminal. Not far behind antibiotics is white refined sugar. Other types of refined sugars, such as high fructose corn syrup, are also damaging to gut bacteria. Sugar is known to be very antibiotic without any other added minerals or nutrients in it. In England, one recent medical study used sugar to kill and heal and stop staph infections on the skin that are antibiotic resistant. The flesh-eating bacteria that we've heard so much about have been stopped in their tracks by sugar. That's one good way to use sugar, but when we put it in our gut in large amounts or frequently, it creates a lot of harm and can create a very large imbalance. Additionally, when our gut is out of balance and we add sugar, sugar feeds a bacteria in our gut or a fungus in our gut known as Candida, which can be very aggressive and overwhelm the other gut bacteria, preventing them from getting back into balance, even when we start doing things right. So it's important to keep sugar out of our diet as much as we can. Trauma and stress are some of the least recognized gut disruptors. It's a little bit of the chicken and the egg question. Does trauma cause problems in the brain that then impact the gut? Or does the gut take the first hit and then impact the brain? We don't know. However, trauma is associated with a lot of illnesses, and people who have unresolved childhood and other kinds of trauma have a documented higher rates of every kind of chronic illness and have a far less diverse gut bacteria population than those who don't have that chronic trauma. Good news is that we can resolve that trauma and clear the trauma and clear the blocks. Those things have been shown to actually allow the gut bacteria to get back into balance and get back into health. Poor nutrition is also a factor. Those little bacteria feed on the fiber and other parts of our food. If we're not eating a wide variety of whole foods, some of the families of bacteria can't thrive. The bacteria that love spinach are not the same ones that love carrots or walnuts. Each group needs its own nutrients, and without the fiber and other nutrients in the food that we eat, they can't keep working. Being on a diet or having eating disorders that limit and restrict the food we eat is another way to cause our gut bacteria to be out of balance. Without the support of a wide variety of healthy foods, it's very hard to get our gut back into balance. So what would be some of the ways you would know that your gut bacteria are out of balance? Well, poor sleep, digestive problems, anxiety, brain fog, mood disorders, allergies, including the seasonal hay fever type allergies, constipation, diarrhea. Those are not all of the ways you would know that your gut bacteria is out of balance or that you have dysbiosis. Other indicators might be that you have recurring yeast infections of some kind, chronic athlete's foot, or other fungal problems. Depression can be an indicator. The inability to lose weight can be an indicator, and many more. The health of your gut's environment is one of the most critical parts of overall good health. The good news is that your gut bacteria can be restored once we get our gut healed and give it the right support. How do we support gut recovery and health? We've already mentioned the critical part that diet plays. Eating a wide variety of whole fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and whole grains, and even some of the animal foods that you check for on your own temple quality foods list. All of those can help rebuild our gut bacteria. Most of the bacterial families in the gut are not found in probiotic capsules and only repopulate when the right foods are eaten. For instance, William Li, who wrote a book on how to beat disease using food as medicine and as a neurobiologist, learned that one of the species that supports immune function in a very important way is only able to thrive when pomegranates or cranberries are eaten or juice. Other groups of bacteria need the nutrients that are found in kale or in carrots or in beets or in wheat. If your gut is damaged and some of those foods cannot be eaten because they cause you pain and that damage has created an inability to tolerate them, it becomes important to heal the tissue and heal the gut so that the bacteria can get the food they need to thrive. One of the great herbal foods is slippery elm and licorice root, together known as soothing digestion, a Dr. Christopher formula. Slippery elm and other foods like slippery elm provide the thin, slippery mucus lining to the gut that's needed for bacteria to live and thrive. These are known as prebiotics. Slippery elm also soothes inflamed tissue and provides materials for the damaged tissue to heal and restore. Other kinds of support needed herbally might be herbal cleansers, but please test your own body first to see if you need a bowel cleanser before you use it, because if you don't need it, it can actually add to the damage. Sleep. Sleep is critical to our gut health, although interestingly, if our gut is out of balance, our sleep is going to be out of balance too, for the simple reason that, as we mentioned, those gut bacteria are responsible for 90% of the serotonin. Serotonin is the precursor to melatonin, which regulates our sleep cycle. So if we don't have enough serotonin, it's going to be difficult to have the melatonin we need to keep our sleep on track. However, there are herbal supports you can use for sleep, including getting extra calcium and magnesium, and particularly a sleep herb that I like to use called kava kava. Getting our sleep back on track with a good sleep hygiene schedule and using the herbal support needed can actually help heal the gut bacteria and help them get restored to their appropriate balance. Exercise is another good way to help restore our gut's balance, particularly gentle exercise like yoga, swimming, or walking. These can help tone our digestive system and give the gut bacteria a healthy place to live. Emotional support for your gut would include some of the things we've already talked about. Healing the trauma by releasing it and releasing the blocks that have been created by trauma. This can be a long process, but once we get the major blocks out of the way and we let go of the trauma in the most critical ways, our body can actually begin to heal the gut, and the trauma also can begin to be healed more deeply. Emotional support would include choosing to behave in loving ways rather than lashing out in anger, or meeting your own emotional needs rather than ignoring yourself by focusing on other people. It doesn't mean you shouldn't love and serve others. It just means that sometimes it's important to also love ourselves and take care of ourselves. And that would be a part of the emotional support for healing your gut. Spiritual support is very important for our gut health. Spiritual practices such as meditation, I have already talked about as being very helpful, and they are. It's important for us to do spiritual practices such as our regular worship practices, connecting to other people and to God, and our daily spiritual rituals. Mental support would include learning about and finding ways your gut health can improve and changing old beliefs that might be blocking the needed changes for health. Today, we've talked briefly about our gut health. Our gut is one of the most important parts of our overall health. So in the next video, we'll get more into detail of some of the best ways to restore gut health.